Hi, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this very special Life with Passion exclusive interview. I am so glad that you are joining us to hear from somebody I so admire and am proud to call a friend and mentor. And that is the lovely, wonderful, beautiful, inside and out, highly successful, multi-seven-figure business owner, Selena Soo. Selena is a publicity and marketing strategist who helps authors, experts, and coaches go from hidden gem to admired industry leader and even household name. She's also somebody that I've gotten to know and meet personally this year after following and admiring her for a long time. She's the real deal. And when I started thinking about 2020 and what these dreams that I know we all have as we were entering a new year, new decade, all of this stuff, there's really nobody better that I could think of to talk to us about what it really takes to go for your big dreams and how to get over the fear that I think as high achievers we all deal with, right, to a T in reaching for those big dreams. So Selena is just like us. She's a high achiever. She's sensitive just like us. She's a big dreamer and doer. And so she's going to tell us how to get from where we are right now to where we want to be. So without further ado, welcome, Selena.
Thank you so much, Christine. You are awesome. That was the best intro ever. And hey, everyone, it's so great to meet you.
Yay! Fantastic. All right, well, I want to dive in because I just want to hear your genius mind, Selena. So let's talk about this whole idea of fear, right? Because I think that fear, self-doubt, all of these things are things that like the most capable people, the people whose messages need to come out most in the world, those are things that we all struggle with the most too, right? Like not the slacker who's not doing anything with their life. So
yeah. No, it's so interesting. Oh, but I just wanted to add something because as you're saying that, it's like the people that are getting the most publicity, the most attention, they're not necessarily the best at what they do. They're the ones that just kind of charge ahead. But I just like completely agree with you. Those of us that are maybe highly sensitive, really thoughtful, perfectionistic, like we're the ones who are holding ourselves back when we truly have something very important to share. So I love that distinction.
Yes, it's so true. Oh my gosh. So this idea of fear is something that we can all relate to, right? I know you can and I can. Why? What are the things that this fear is holding us back from? Like, what are we keeping ourselves from being able to be, do, and have?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. So many things. I mean, if you know that you're amazing at what you do, right? Then by not sharing it, you're holding back from people that could really be helped by your work. You know, and if you ever had a situation where someone has come up to you and said like, oh my gosh, one conversation with you is more valuable than 3 years of therapy, or I've hired so many people for this thing and like, you just like fixed it. You're so good. Or I wish there were other service professionals I work with who are just like as caring about their clients and as professional as you. So, you know, there's a lot of people who aren't going to be able to experience it until you get that out there. And also for so many of us, when we start a business, you know, yes, we're here to generate revenue, but we also care about making an impact in other people's lives. We also care about the quality of our lives, right? So we want to have that freedom and flexibility and be able to provide for our family and all these different things. And when you get more publicity and attention for your business, everything becomes easier because people just know, okay, you're the person for me versus, you know, having you do this whole song and dance to prove yourself. So it's like all the things that you want can happen more quickly when people just see you as that go-to expert.
Yes. Okay. So there's this great quote, right? That everything you want is on the other side of your fear. And what I hear you saying is like publicity is the way to, you know, dramatically to scale your business without it having to be super, super hard, right? Scale your audience, scale your income and your impact.
Yes.
And it's worth getting over your fear for, right?
There's two things I want to say about that. So one, I love that you use the word scale because, you know, like we could just continuously have conversations with individual people, but to reach more people, we want to be able to share our message with the masses, with 100 people, 1,000 people, maybe even 1,000,000 people at once. So that's really powerful, right? Because if you're telling people I'm the best at what I do, that's only going to go so far. But if you are on a podcast that your target audience listens to or respects, and there are like 2,000 people downloading, listening to that podcast, or 10,000 people, like that's how you're going to create leverage in your business. So that was one thing. The other thing is, I think when people hear the words media and publicity, they can sometimes shut down and be like, oh, well, that's for like New York best, selling authors, or people with all these, numbers and letters after their name, or it's for those like wildly successful entrepreneurs that have hit certain income levels. Like that's not for me. Right. And so, I mean, a couple of things are important to know is that the media is always looking for fresh perspectives. They are looking for variety from people from all stages of business, all stages of life. So there is room for you. They're looking for someone like you. And the other thing is there's so many different types of publicity. Like, I really define publicity as you getting your message, your story, your work out on a platform. So lots of people are hearing about it as once. So for you, for someone, it may be a podcast. It might be being a guest expert in someone's program and speaking to 20 of their high-paying mastermind clients. Or, it might be traditional media like magazines, but it really varies. I'm not here to tell people they need to pursue a certain type of publicity, but I do believe that everyone can benefit from getting more attention, eyeballs, and focus on their work.
Yes, I completely agree. And, in my book, The Income Replacement Formula, we talk about like this as a means of visibility, right? That's one of the steps. Visibility is how you reach a cold audience. Visibility is different than marketing to your warm audience who already knows, likes, and trusts you. Visibility, publicity, getting on a platform of any kind, what you're saying, right? Equating those two things, it can be big or small or anything in between. But it is helping you to reach more people with this message that you really are passionate about. And frankly, like, I believe we all have messages that we're made to share with the world, right? And so the more we can share those, the more the rising tide raises all ships, right? The more we're all helped by that. And one of the things I love so much about you is that like you just make this really simple for people, right? And you break it down. But I also know that there was a time when you had you were dealing with fear around your own visibility.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yes.
Can you share a time like that with us?
Yeah, I want to share that because I think people can relate to this, like, being that cobbler with no shoes. So I was a person who was like, oh my gosh, this person is so amazing. We need to get them to the spotlight. I need to connect them to this person. I want them to get this incredible visibility opportunity. But when it came to myself, I was like, oh, I'm comfortable in the shadows. But I also realized, at some point that if I really wanted to help and reach more people and also see what was possible for me to reach my own personal potential, I had to put myself out there too. And that's something that's important to me. I never want to feel like I don't know what's possible because I didn't give something my all. And early on in my business, one of my clients was like, Selena, you are so good at what you do. And I adore you. I want to introduce my whole audience to you. Like, I want to send an email to my list. I want to do a video interview with you. And I remember hearing it and just being so scared, like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this, I'm gonna mess up. But I agreed to say yes, because there's a part of me that was like, well, what do I have to lose? And this is someone that really cares about me and believes in me, and it's like a safer place for me to do this. So I did this interview on Skype, split screen, so nervous the whole time. And then when she sent me the recording, I remember like turning it on and watching it and just like slowly being like, oh my God. I was like covering my like face with my hands, like I'm watching a horror movie. And I was having my interns actually note my filler words, because this was several years ago. And I was like starting Toastmasters. And I just knew, I'm not that great at public speaking for myself. I'm good at one-on-one, but this public stuff is difficult for me. Right. And they were counting the filler words, like they reached like 137 filler words. I'm just like, okay, you can just stop. This is like the hugest like disaster. I'm like such a train wreck. I can't send this to my list. And they were like, honestly, Selena, it's not as bad as you think. Like, I actually thought it was a really good interview. Meanwhile, I'm focusing on all the things I'm doing wrong. Like, I'm not maintaining good eye contact, and I'm just like all these things, or I'm talking too fast. And so I did send the email out to my list, and then I checked it a couple hours later, and people responded, and they were really enthusiastic because they'd never seen a video interview. They'd only, seen writing from me, and just people saying like, wow, this is great. I really appreciate your perspective. You've got such a great way of breaking things down. That story really warmed my heart. And so I got 4 takeaways from that I want to share with your audience. So number 1 is you're always your own worst critic. Rather than being like, congratulations, Selena, you took a huge step forward, right? You stretched yourself out of your comfort zone. I'm just watching the video and essentially waiting for all the times I mess up and like making a note, like literally document.
Literally. Yeah.
Right? So we all do that. We just like nitpick. Number 2 is that I was comparing myself. There are people that I really admire that just seem so naturally eloquent, and they're like giving these, epic TED Talks, and just the way that they, move on stage and the way that they present themselves. I'm comparing myself to them. But the thing is, I'm just getting started and putting my message out there. So I can't compare myself to someone that's 10 years or 20 years in the game. And then the third thing is to remember that like actually the only way for me to get to where they are or even close to is to do the work. So you're actually not going to be as good as you could be. And you just have to be comfortable in that discomfort, because that's just part of progress.
Yeah.
And then the fourth thing is I realized I was being really focused on myself. Like, how do I look? How do I sound? Do I look stupid? But if I really take a step back, was my content helping others? Did I show up with a full heart to just really give as much as I could? And I do. And so now whenever I do interviews and podcasts and things like that, I'm not going to go back and like watch it a million times and criticize myself. I just ask myself, like, did I show up? Did I give it my everything? Did I serve? And if the answer is yes, then I did a fantastic job, and I'm going to move on to the next opportunity.
I love that. 2 things that you said that really like I want to call out, because all of those points are great. I think what you said is you aren't going to be as good as you could be until you do the work, right? I think there are so many ways that we see this in our personal lives. Like an example that came to mind for me was I've just started really getting back into exercising again after like being hella pregnant and having an infant and all this stuff. And man, I am so out of shape. Like it is rough. But every time I'm sore, I'm like, this is good. This is progress.
Yeah.
Like I want to stay sore. Like I would like to maybe get some abs back at some point, but how do you do it? It's by doing the work. Right.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us here in this community also prefer, like you said, to be behind the scenes. We're really good. Like you are a super connector, right? And so a lot of us love to make those personal connections too. And we really prefer to be behind the scenes. We really prefer to be championing other people's work. Like that's what gives us the most pleasure and to make that impact. But we need to recognize, to your last point, that getting your message out there is how you help people, right?
Right. And it's in addition, you don't change that caring, generous. You can still be an incredible behind the scenes supporter, but there's something in you getting yourself out there as well.
Yes, exactly. It's in order to help more people, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So it all serves that same value. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. So what are some other things that we could do to get over our fear and our self-doubt?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things is that we just don't feel prepared. We don't feel experienced enough to do an interview or to share our ideas. So I think it's really important to get support. When I did my first couple podcast interviews, I would, work on, like, I would ask the host, like, what are the questions, and I would practice the questions in advance with a team member. And it was great. Or a team member or a friend, and they might say like, hey, like, you're getting a little bit long-winded here, or you should mention this thing, right? So once you practice it a couple of times, it becomes easy. And then the other thing is really getting clear on what kind of medium is most comfortable for you. So are you someone where when you write, like your ideas really come alive and that's really you showcasing your strengths? Or are you someone who's better at expressing your ideas through talking? So focus on what's going to be easiest for you. And then the other thing about like putting yourself out there is thinking about what are the low hanging fruit opportunities. to put the pressure on yourself to go from zero to Oprah, or zero to the Today Show. It's not going to be realistic. But do you have a friend who's got a podcast or a membership site or a small group of people that you could speak in front of? Maybe, rather than giving a big presentation, your first, kind of media or visibility opportunity is just like a very simple Q&A. So, start small versus like pushing yourself to a place where it just feels like too much.
I appreciate that so much because I know, like I talk with my team about how I'm going to be on Ellen, right? Or the Today Show or whatever. But at the same time, I also know like there's a bunch of practice. To your point, the way that you get there is by doing the work.
Yeah.
There's a lot between where I am now and where I'll be when I, show up and like give money to the Gorilla Fund, a big fat check. You know what I mean? So, so that's no matter where you are, if you've never done an article or you've never done a podcast interview, it's a learnable skill. Like there was a time when you had never done one, like you just shared, and I had never done one. And I think I love that this is so not a one size fits all approach that you have, right? It's very like, no, what we call the 3 Ps, your personality, your preferences, your passions, like how do those align with the right media opportunities for you, right? How can you start really small, the smallest possible, like what 5-minute step could you take today toward a right opportunity, right?
I love that.
That's awesome. And so you shared a little bit about like people coming up to you and saying these amazing things, right? About how you changed their life, how, you saved them 3 years of therapy or whatever. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's possible? Like help us dream a little bit about what's possible when we do move past our fear and self-doubt in terms of moving toward that income and impact that we want.
I mean, so many things are possible. It really depends on what you're looking for. One of my best friends is Laura Belgray, who is a copywriter, and she was best known as like Marie Forleo's, in a way, like copywriting sidekick, like behind the scenes person that works with her. But now that she's getting media, she's really owning that she is, a personal brand, a leader in her own right. And so she's become an inspiration for so many copywriters, creatives, and other entrepreneurs. And her whole thing is about like being unapologetically you. And she kind of makes a joke about being a lazy entrepreneur because there's certain things that she's just like not willing to do. And I mean, she's tripled her rates. Like she went from 500 an hour to 1,500 an hour in about like 3 years of, us working together and her going through the Impacting Millions system. And now actually she's retired from copywriting and she just sells online courses because she's used, publicity to kind of build up her audience. So that's like an example, like in terms of now she has a more time freedom and more income.
Yeah. I love that sorry.
No, go ahead.
Something about Laura. I don't know her personally, but in my very first group coaching program, 2015, that helped me launch Life with Passion, Laura was a guest expert and she was brought in as Marie's copywriter, right? And they had their course together. And I have watched her since then do exactly what you're talking about. Like as an outsider, I have friends and clients now coming to me going, I just bought Laura's course. Do you know Laura Belgray? Like, and say nothing about Marie now. It's like, she's awesome. She has this course called Inbox Hero, right? Like she is amazing. Yeah. And so that's really, really cool that like that evolution and to know that you're the one who helped her do it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, she's extraordinary. And I think there's so many people that like, while they like to support others, it's like, they also want to build their own brand and have their own identity as, being awesome at what they do. So that's one thing. I mean, that was like your own identity, time freedom, income, but I mean, impact is also huge. I mean, I don't think there's anything more meaningful than someone saying that you've changed their lives in some way or that you're an inspiration to them. And the reason why I even started my business is I really feel like the world needs more role models. So to just like give the quick version of my personal story. So when I was in my mid-20s, I had a quarter life crisis. I was working at a nonprofit, making about $40,000 a year. And I was just in such a low point, like feeling clinically depressed and in a terrible relationship. Just everything seemed to be going wrong. And I discovered this women's life coaching group. And through that community of women, I got introduced to all these like experts and authors, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson. And I just started to see that like a lot of the suffering that I had in my life and others, it was really self-created. And I became so passionate. Like I want people to know about these experts who can show people how to find their purpose, fix their thinking, believe in themselves, love themselves, heal their health, find a good relationship, start a business, and really help people put their destiny in their own hands. I just thought was the most empowering thing and the most important thing. And I also felt like, when we're struggling, we don't just need like more information, because sometimes we technically know what to do. Like, oh yeah, like don't eat carbs or stop dating emotionally unavailable men. Like we know it, but yeah, we do it. And so it's like, we need that combination of information with inspiration. And we need those role models who we can look up to, or we're like, oh my gosh, I see a piece of myself in them. And I feel like grateful to even be a role model, not in like an arrogant way, because I never would, claim to be perfect in any way, but just like, I used to have like such paralyzing, crippling fear of being seen. I mean, when I was in business school, like when we had to go around in a circle, like when we were in small groups of 6, and I just even introduce ourselves, share our name and like a couple words about ourselves, I couldn't even focus on what everyone else was saying, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? I was so self-conscious. I mean, I've had so many times when I was younger, when I was in rooms and I had to give presentations because of, class, and my whole body would be like shaking, and people would come up and they'd feel sorry for me. Like this was really, really hard for me. And being highly sensitive and shy and introverted. So, I mean, I love spreading these important messages, but I also feel like just as proud, if not more proud, that I have develop the skills to put myself out there. And I can show other people that you don't have to be someone who is like a massive extrovert. I mean, if you are, that's great, but you don't need to like be camera ready and stage ready in order to make an impact. You can actually develop these skills and put yourself out there and change lives.
Yes. Thank you so much for like being transparent and sharing that, because I know, this is going to be a podcast episode, so maybe you're listening to the podcast episode, but for those of you who are joining us in our live studio audience in the Facebook group, like Ashley is sharing that she has a similar starting story to you, and she loves that you said, did I show up with a full heart, right? So like this is exactly why I wanted to bring Selena in, because Selena, you are such a wonderful example of what's possible. Whether you struggled with depression, anxiety, PTSD, like me, crippling self-doubt, like me, like you, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you are such an example of like doing the work anyway, right? Finding your calling, going for it, sticking with it, building a business that's aligned to who you are and the message and the impact that you want to have, right? Having that calling, following through with it, and being willing to show up at bigger and bigger levels along the way.
Yeah.
But not having to have been camera ready yourself to start a publicity business, right?
Yeah. I mean, you may very well suck the first couple of times you do that. That's okay. It's part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like just showing up and being real, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Action. I know that you're about that.
What's that?
Imperfect action.
Yes. Because we're never going to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I had this moment when I was on Entrepreneurs on Fire.
Yeah.
John Lee Dumas asked me a question that I didn't expect, because at that time the show was he asked the same questions of everyone, and he threw me a curveball, and I like immediately started sweating. And I was sure, because I went into like total panic, fight or flight mode, that I said something that was so stupid.
Right.
And I worried about it for the next 3 months until the episode came out. And then when it came out, I waited all day to listen to it. And I was with some friends, and I had a glass of wine before I listened to it. And then I like put it on in the car by myself, and I was like, right? And it got to the point, and it was like, fine.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. Like in your head, you're like, what the hell is happening? I am such a loser or whatever. And then it's like, oh yeah, it sounds fine.
Yeah, like maybe they edited it to make it sound more fine, but I'm cool with that. You know, who knows? No one else ever will. So I think, like you said, imperfect action and what's possible, right? Your business, your multi-7-figure business where you have an amazing team of people around you that you love and who are like all on board with your mission and helping you grow and scale. Just some of the things that I've gotten to witness, since I've been following you for a while, like you're just a beautiful example for all of us. So thank you for doing this work. Thank you for being here with us today and sharing these insights and the real story behind, right?
Yeah.
Tell us like people want to connect with you further. Maybe this is their first introduction to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things. They can check out my website, selinasue.com. They can also follow me on Instagram and chat with me in the comments. I respond to every comment unless it's like some weird foreign guy that is commenting here. So I ignore those. But other than that, I respond to everything. So I'd love to chat with you there. And I also have a free gift if you go to selinasue.com/VIP video. So I've been really blessed that I've built some amazing relationships in my industry, created amazing friendships, mentorships, connected with the media and other leaders in the industry. And that's really helped me grow my business. That really is kind of like that secret weapon, right? Those relationships. So if you're interested in learning how I did that, my personal stories, then I invite you to check out selinasue.com/VIP video.
I love that. And I love that it's a video. Go you.
Yeah. Well, actually it slides. But
well, that's what worked, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I will just let you all in on a little secret here that I'm super excited to be working on something with Selena that will be coming out soon. So you can stay tuned for that in this community. I'll definitely be keeping you posted. And Selena, thank you so much for being here today. Everybody connect with Selena further. You all now know how amazing she is. And I can't wait for more people to be helped by what you do and your message. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.